we're celebrating today one of the most important celebration in our lives as Christians, the exaltation of the Holy Cross. This feast celebrates the consecration of the Basilica of the Holy Sepulchre in Jerusalem. That's one of the most important basilica in the world. And it is known to be built upon the place where Jesus was crucified. So in that same very place, they built a huge basilica. Just as we have also the Church of the Resurrection where Jesus was buried, we have the Basilica of the Holy Sepulchre in Jerusalem where Jesus died at the Mount of Golgotha. The feast highlights the importance of the cross as the instruments of love and victory. For us Christians who believe, the cross is now the power. It is the victory. It is a healing power of God. When we go back, according to the readings that we have today, even when we go back to the Old Testament, we see the cross which is already foreshadowed throughout the Old Testament. The tree that brought death should be used as an antidote of the same to bring life. The tree brought death in the Garden of Eden. In the Garden of Gethsemane, the tree brought life. We can see already the prefiguration of the cross even in the life of Abraham and the sacrifice of Isaac. Abraham is going at Mount Moriah. He's going to sacrifice the lad. But what is happening here? The wood is actually carried by Isaac. Isaac carries the wood. Isaac is already foreshadowing Christ who will carry the cross. The wood on the shoulder of Isaac is already the wood of the cross that will be carried. And Isaac is going to be the sacrificial lamb. And when he's going to put him on the firewood, Isaac symbolizes indeed the lamb of sacrifice. That's a cross. We'll see this even when we see in the life of Moses. The cross is prefigured as a sign of victory also already, because we see Moses who is interceding for the people in the book of Numbers, and Moses interceding, and Or and Aaron are there against the Amalekites. And as long as the hands of Moses were raised on a sign of the cross, the Israelite will prevail. And when the hands of Moses drops down, the Amalekite will prevail. So Aaron and Hur and Ur came and sustained the hands of Moses so that he remains, the people of God will remain victorious. This is the symbol of Christ who extends his hands on the cross to give his life forever for the victory of mankind. The cross goes on and on. We see it already coming in the Old Testament and with the book of Numbers that we read today. The bronze, the serpent of bronze. The people of Israel, what did they do? Actually, they grumbled against God, against Moses, of course. They left Egypt, but now they're hungry and they're grumbling against Moses, but against God. Then there is a punishment. They are being beaten by serpents, venomous serpents, and they're dying like flies. The other one coming back to Moses said, please intercede to God for us. We are dying. And of course, Moses will do, and God will tell Moses, what I'm going to ask you to do is to lift up a serpent of bronze, and that everyone who look at that serpent of bronze, even if he's beaten by the serpent, they will be healed. And so this happened as Moses predicted them. And all who were bitten by the serpents indeed were there. Whenever they are bitten, they go and they looked at the serpents. What do you think they were looking at? It wasn't indeed a serpent. It was indeed Christ himself who was lifted up. He's going to be lifted up on the cross. And that's what we do sometimes when we look at the holy cross that represents the victory of Christ and actually the salvation of humanity. When we bear the cross is no longer an instrument of curse as it was for the Romans. Because the Roman people are the one who brought the cross in order to condemn all those who were against them, against the emperor and against them. So the cross was to be considered as a sign of curse. You see that in some of the writings of Paul. I say, he's accursed, the one who dies on the wood of the cross. But we Christians, since Jesus stretched his holy hands and arms on the cross has been transformed and changed into an instrument of life, life-giving, peace, and restoration, regeneration. So the cross for us is what restores our dignity, because he came so low and he gave himself for us so that we may rediscover our dignity, the dignity that we lost. Through the cross, we Christians have now won the victory. This is what we are celebrating today, the exaltation of the Holy Cross. Through the exaltation of the Holy Cross, we are celebrating the exaltation of the life of man. The man who was condemned is now redeemed. The man who was once lost is now found back. The one who was actually broken is now fixed up. The cross of Jesus Christ is our pride. God so loved the world that he gave his only Son, so that all who believe in him, that is us, may discover in the cross the sign of power. Today there are so many people who don't believe in what we believe. There are so many people who still ask us, how can people think that they can preach the cross? Yes, that's no more. Before they thought the cross was so. But for us, after Jesus' death on the cross is no longer a mere wood or just a mere instrument, but is indeed the holy symbol of our victory. May God sanctify us and help us to use the cross and the sign of the cross that we do as a symbol and a sign of our sanctification, of our glorification, of our victory, and the sign of peace for humanity.